They didn't throw you away because you were worthless. They threw you away because they were too damn small to carry something that real. Let that settle for a moment, because you keep blaming yourself, like you were trash, like you were too much, too needy, too intense. But my friend, the truth is harder than that. You weren't too much. You were too honest, too deep, too real for someone who only knew how to drink shallow attention like it was wine. And because they couldn't rise to your level, they convinced you to sink to theirs. But this isn't about them anymore. This is about you. About the fact that you kept showing up for someone who kept disappearing, that you kept offering gold to someone who treated it like garbage, and you still sit there, hoping they'll come back, hoping they'll say sorry, hoping they'll finally see your worth. But why, my friend, are you still waiting for someone else to validate what you should have protected? Before we go any further, press that like button right now. Subscribe to the channel. And stay with me, because this isn't just a video. This is your wake-up call. And it might sting. It might make you cry. But I promise you, by the end of this, you'll remember who the hell you were before you let someone play you like a puppet. Hey folks, imagine this. Imagine building a palace brick by brick. Every act of love, every message you sent, every moment you were there when they needed you. That palace, that was your time, your energy, your loyalty. You handcrafted it with everything you had, and they walked in like royalty, wiped their feet on your heart, and walked out like they were the ones wronged. No thank you, no explanation, just silence and ego. And the worst part? You stayed at the door, holding it open, waiting, hoping, praying that maybe, just maybe, they'd walk back in and apologize. But here's what you forgot. You built the damn palace. They just visited. You gave them everything. And they treated you like an afterthought. And still, you blame yourself. Still, you wonder what you did wrong. But let me break the lie right now. What you did wrong was letting someone rent space in your soul who was never willing to pay the price of presence. They didn't ghost you because they were confused. They ghosted you because they knew they couldn't keep pretending. You were the mirror, and mirrors don't lie. And they hated that. They hated how you saw through the fake smiles, through the performances, through the half-love and empty promises. So they left. Not because you were unworthy, but because you saw too much. So stop crying over people who can't even hold a conversation, let alone your heart. Stop acting like your worth is up for debate just because they didn't recognize it. You keep trying to water dead plants. You keep trying to repair bridges that lead to nowhere, and you've become their emotional doormat, the one who always answers, the one who always forgives, the one who always shows up, even when they vanished. But not anymore. Not after this. Not after today. From this moment forward, you do not shrink. You do not beg. You do not ask for love like it's spare change. You rise. You glow. You shine so bright that it burns their eyes to remember you. You don't chase. You don't explain. You become. You transform into the version of yourself they were never ready for, and now they'll never reach again. So comment this below right now. I choose me now. Write it, lock it in, burn it into your mind. You are not backup. You are not second best. You are the whole damn blessing, and if they couldn't see it, that's their curse to live with. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and stay with me because we're just getting started. Number 1. You're not heartbroken. You're hypnotized. They didn't steal your heart. You gave it away and forgot to keep a key for yourself. You weren't robbed, my friend. You volunteered. You offered your soul like a sacrifice on a silver platter to someone who didn't even know how to eat with their hands. And now you sit there in silence, in pain, thinking you're heartbroken, when the truth is you're just hypnotized. Spellbound by the illusion that one day they'll wake up and finally see what they missed. But let me snap you out of that trance. They're not going to wake up. They're not sleeping. They're walking away. They're posting, laughing, pretending, living like you never existed, while you stay trapped in a waiting room they left without saying goodbye. You're not grieving them. You're addicted to a fantasy, and that fantasy is killing your worth. Slowly, quietly, like poison disguised as hope, you replay every message, every smile, every good morning text. You scroll through their stories like it's scripture, trying to decode a sign. But here's the metaphor you refuse to face. You're staring at a locked door, waiting for them to open it, and you're holding the damn key the entire time. The door was never locked from the outside. It's your mind that's trapped, not your heart. You gave them the remote control to your peace, and every day you keep hoping they'll return it. You lose a little more of your own power. Let me ask you something raw, and answer with your chest. Why are you still chasing someone who threw you away like garbage? Why are you watering dead plants, praying they'll bloom out of guilt? Why are you playing doormate to someone who wiped their feet on your loyalty and walked out like they were the victim? You cry over someone who wouldn't even flinch if you disappeared tomorrow, someone who wouldn't pick up the phone unless they needed something. You're still stuck trying to solve a puzzle that was never yours to fix. They knew what you brought to the table. They knew how rare your love was. But they wanted fast food, not a feast. And you let them convince you that you were too much just because they were never hungry for something real. Let me break the lie right here. You weren't too much. You were just too pure for someone who only feeds on chaos. My friends, you weren't broken by love. You were broken by your own blindness. You kept ignoring the red flags like they were decorations. You kept calling manipulation confusion. You kept labeling silence as peace. You kept giving passes to someone who wouldn't give you the time of day unless you bled for it. And what did it leave you with? Emptiness, guilt, shame, the kind that makes you question if you'll ever be good enough again. But let me tell you something that should shake your spine. You were never the problem. You just forgot you were the prize. You forgot you were the mirror that reflected everything they tried to hide. You forgot that your love was a fire, and they ran because they were afraid of burning. And now you sit there, hypnotized, waiting for closure from someone who closed their conscience the moment they realized you were no longer easy to manipulate. Why do you keep doing this to yourself? Why do you keep checking your phone like it owes you something? Why do you lower your vibration just to be understood by people who can't even understand themselves? It's because you've convinced yourself that love is pain, that being needed is more valuable than being respected. But let me wake you up right now. You are not a rescue mission. You are not rehab for someone else's emotional immaturity. You are not the rebound, the placeholder, the easy target, or the safe zone they run to when life stops entertaining them. You are the storm they didn't prepare for, the silence they thought meant weakness, the goodbye they thought you'd never have the strength to say. And if you still think you're heartbroken, think again. You're hypnotized by a version of them that never existed. They weren't special. They were just familiar. That's what hurts. Not the loss, but the habit. But habits can be broken. And today, right now, that's what you're going to do. You're going to stop performing for people who never clapped. You're going to stop begging for the bare minimum while offering the absolute best of yourself. You're going to stop confusing their silence for mystery. It's not. It's manipulation. And the longer you stay under their spell, the deeper your identity slips through your own fingers. So here's what I want you to do. Look in the mirror, not the one on your wall, the one inside your mind, and speak this into your bones. I'm not broken. I'm just done bleeding for people who call it love while they watch me suffer. Now comment it below. Don't just think it. Type it out right now. I'm done begging for access to my own worth. Let them see it. Let yourself see it. Let the world see it. Show them. Show yourself. Show the world that the spell is broken, that the trance is over, that you're no longer sitting by the door like a loyal dog waiting for a master who left. Because what comes next, my friend, it's not another apology, it's not their return, it's your rise, your fire, your evolution. And trust me, it's going to be loud enough for the silence to shatter. So stay with me, because we're not done yet. We're just getting started. Number 2. You keep trying to win a game that was rigged from the start. It's not rejection, it's redirection, but you refuse to turn around. Let that sink in. You're not being punished, you're being pushed away from a door that was never yours to open in the first place, pushed out of a space where your love was never going to grow. But instead of seeing it for what it is, protection, you call it pain. Instead of walking away, you keep looking back, as if staring harder will change the ending. You keep trying to fix something that was rigged to break you. And you call that love? My friend, let me tell you what this really is. This isn't heartbreak. This is self-betrayal. You are betraying yourself every time you chase after someone who made it crystal clear that they don't want to meet you halfway. You are betraying your own value every time you try to convince someone to see your worth, as if it's up for debate. You keep trying to win a game that was designed to keep you losing. A game where they pull away, you chase. They ignore you, and you reach out harder. They give less, and you offer more, hoping this time, maybe this time, they'll finally choose you. But let me be brutally honest, they're not confused. They're comfortable knowing that no matter how many times they disappear, you'll still be there, texting, waiting, overthinking, apologizing for things you didn't even do. And why? Because you believe love means loyalty, even when it's one-sided. Because you believe if you just love harder, if you just stay longer, they'll change. But they won't. They'll just take more. Imagine this. Imagine climbing a tall ladder. You've been going up for months, maybe years. Every message, every apology, every time you forgave what you should have walked away from, it's another step. You're exhausted, bleeding, crying. But you keep climbing, convinced that once you reach the top, it'll all be worth it. And then one day, you finally look around and realize the ladder is leaning against the wrong wall. It was never leading to love. It was leading to a lesson. And you wasted time thinking you were getting closer, when really you were just going in the wrong direction. And here's what they'll never tell you. They knew how much you cared. They knew you'd keep trying. They just weren't honest enough to admit that they didn't want the same thing. So they breadcrumbed you, gave you just enough to keep you stuck, just enough to keep your hope alive. And you called that love. You called that chemistry. You romanticized confusion because it was better than facing the truth, that the love you gave so freely was never being returned. But let's stop blaming them for a second. Let's talk about you. Why do you stay in games you know you're losing? Why do you wait for people who never show up? Why do you lower your standards just to keep someone in your life who keeps proving they don't deserve the access? It's because deep down you think pain is proof. You think struggle is love. You think if it hurts, it must be real. But real love doesn't require self-abandonment. Real love doesn't feel like chasing. Real love feels like safety, not survival. So let me scold you with love. You're not in love. You're in a loop, a cycle that feeds on your insecurities, a maze built from your fear of being alone. And you keep telling yourself that if you let go, you'll lose them. But my friend, you never had them. You only had pieces. And pieces aren't enough when you've been offering your whole damn soul. It's time you stopped calling it rejection and started calling it what it is, redirection. The universe isn't punishing you, it's saving you. that delay you hate so much, that silence you take personally. It's the protection you keep praying for, dressed in a disguise you keep trying to fix. But you can't fix what doesn't want to grow. You can't love someone into healing if they refuse to stop hurting you in the process. And the truth is, this isn't about winning them over anymore. The only thing you need to win is distance. Distance from the chaos, distance from the manipulation, distance from the old version of yourself that kept breaking just to keep them whole. Because the moment you stop playing, the game ends, the power returns, and the peace begins. So comment this below right now. I choose distance over desperation. Write it, own it, show them, show yourself. Show the world that you're done climbing toward people who never built anything for you to stand on. Because what's coming next? That's the moment where your distance doesn't just end the pain. It becomes the proof that you were always worth more than the game. Stay with me. Number 3. You were the flame. They just didn't know how to hold fire. You were never too much. They were too weak to carry what you were made of. Let's get this straight. Right now, you weren't intense. You were ignited. You weren't clingy. You were consistent. You weren't too much. You were the fire. The real problem? They came to steal your warmth, but cursed the moment they got too close and felt the heat. That's what happens when someone who's cold on the inside tries to get close to someone who burns with truth, loyalty, and presence. They flinch, they recoil, they run. And then they turn around and blame you for it, like you're the one who burned them on purpose, when all you did was show up real. My friends, you weren't hard to love. You were hard to manipulate. You were honest in a world full of performance. You said what you meant. You showed up when you said you would. You loved without playing games. And that right there, that exposed everything in them they were hiding from. You became the mirror they couldn't look into, because your consistency revealed their chaos. Your truth forced them to confront their lies. Your love demanded presence, and all they knew how to offer was absence. Imagine this, someone freezing in the middle of winter, shivering, alone. They come across a fire, you, and for a while they stay close. They love the glow. They love the way you make them feel seen, safe, alive again. But then, the fire starts asking for more than just comfort. It starts requiring responsibility, care, respect. And suddenly, they panic. Suddenly, they scream that the fire's too hot, too intense, too unpredictable. But the fire didn't change. You didn't change. They just never intended to stay long enough to learn how to tend to it. That's what happened to you. They wanted what you gave, but never planned to give it back. They wanted the high of being loved that deeply, but not the accountability that comes with it. So they said you were too emotional, too sensitive, too deep. No, you were too real. And when someone is shallow, real love feels like a threat, not a blessing. Let me tell you the part they'll never admit. They didn't leave because you were hard to love. They left because they knew they'd have to rise to your level, and they weren't willing. They weren't ready. They weren't brave enough. Because real connection demands more than attention. It demands presence. It demands maturity. It demands someone who knows how to hold fire without getting scared every time it glows a little brighter. You scared them, not because you did anything wrong, but because you did everything right. You listened when they were silent. You stayed when they were moody. You forgave before they even apologized. You gave more than anyone ever did, and they hated how small it made them feel, because instead of rising, they shrunk. Instead of healing, they hid, and instead of meeting your energy, they called it overwhelming, because they had no intention of carrying anything real to begin with. Let me break the lie you've been telling yourself. It wasn't your intensity that pushed them away. It was their inability to stand in front of someone who wasn't afraid to love with their whole chest. You weren't the storm, you were the sun. But they were so used to living in shadows that your light made them flinch like a thief in daylight. That's not your fault. That's their wound. That's their fear. That's their shame. But here's the danger. You've started to believe them. You've started to question your own flame. You've started dimming your fire just to keep from making others uncomfortable. And that's the real tragedy. Not that they left. Not that they didn't love you back. But that you forgot what you were made of. So I'm here to remind you, you're not too much. You are the standard. You are the one they'll remember every time someone offers them comfort without depth, attention without intention, company without connection. You are the one who burned so bright they couldn't unsee you, even in the dark. You were the warmth in their cold, the clarity in their fog, and the strength in their weakness. And now you're the absence they'll never be able to fill. So say this with me, and don't whisper it. Say it loud. My fire wasn't the problem. They just feared the light. Type it in the comments. Burn it into your identity. Tattoo it across your self-worth. Show them. Show yourself. Show the world around you that you will never again shrink your flame for someone who can't handle heat. Because what's coming next? That's when you stop apologizing for being powerful and start becoming untouchable. Stay with me. Number 4. You keep letting people rent space in your soul for free. If they don't invest, they don't belong. Let that hit. Let it hit the part of you that's been giving your soul away like it's on clearance, because that's exactly what you've been doing. You keep handing out the keys to your inner peace like it's a hotel lobby, letting people walk in, trash the room, drain the minibar of your energy, and leave without paying a damn thing. And then you wonder why you feel empty. You wonder why your heart feels like it's running on fumes. But here's the truth, and it's not gentle. You're not heartbroken. You've just become a landlord to people who never signed a lease. My friend, your soul is not an open house. It is not a motel for temporary guests who only show up when it's convenient. And yet, that's how you've been living. You let people walk through your peace like they built it, when they didn't even wipe their feet before stepping into your life. You gave time, attention, energy, vulnerability, and they gave you confusion, inconsistency, and silence. And somehow, you're the one feeling guilty. You're the one second-guessing. No, that stops now. Let me ask you something that should make you uncomfortable. Why do you hand over your peace like it's worthless? Why do you let someone else control the thermostat in your own house? 1 minute they're warm, the next minute cold. One day, they love bomb you. The next, they ghost. And you let it happen. You sit there adjusting your emotional temperature based on their mood, their silence, their unpredictability. But this is your space. This is your heart. Why does someone else get to control it while you pay the emotional bill? Let me be real with you. This isn't about love anymore. It's about power. You've been conditioned to think that if someone stays, it means you're worthy. So you tolerate behavior that chips away at your dignity. You ignore red flags because they smiled yesterday. You accept breadcrumbs because you're scared the loaf will never come. But what you don't realize is this. Every time you let someone disrespect your boundaries, you are setting the price for your own self-worth. And right now, you're selling yourself cheap. And here's the twist. They know it. They know they don't have to try. They know they can disappear and come back without consequence. They know they can speak to you with half-truths and still get your full attention, because they've watched you lower the rent. They've watched you silence your needs just to keep the peace. But there is no peace in pretending. There is no strength in shrinking. And there is no love in letting yourself be emotionally evicted from your own life. That's exactly what's been happening. You've been kicked out of your own center. You wake up thinking about them. You go to sleep wondering what you did wrong. You keep checking your phone, giving them free space in your mind while they barely give you crumbs of attention. This isn't love. This is self-abandonment. And it ends today. Because here's the truth. People value what they work for, what they earn, what they build. If someone hasn't invested in your peace, your heart, your future, why are they still in your life? Why are they still in your thoughts? You are not here to be a rehab center for the emotionally unavailable. You are not here to be a free ride for someone too lazy to meet you halfway. So let me scold you with love. How dare you treat your energy like it's disposable? How dare you keep opening your door to people who knock with empty hands? You are not a second chance. You are not a layaway option. You are not a free trial for someone to test their readiness. You are sacred space, and sacred space has rules, boundaries, standards. Not everyone deserves access. Not everyone deserves entry. And if they didn't invest, they don't belong. Period. So say it with me now. Say it out loud and type it in the comments below. I protect my energy like it's sacred. Because it is. Your peace is gold. Your presence is rare. And your worth? It's not negotiable. Not anymore. Show them. Show yourself. Show the world around you that you're done being the landlord of your own destruction. You are reclaiming your space. And what's coming next? That's when the people who once used you for comfort realize they lost access to something holy. Stay with me. We're not done yet. Number 5. They're not silent because they're strong. They're silent because they're guilty. Quiet people carry the loudest shame. They're not silent because they're healed. They're not silent because they've moved on. And they're definitely not silent because they're strong. No, my friend, they're silent because they're guilty. Their silence isn't power. It's collapse. It's avoidance. It's the sound of someone who knows exactly what they did, but doesn't have the spine to face the aftermath. They're not ignoring you because you didn't matter. They're avoiding you because you mattered too much. And now they're exposed. You keep telling yourself their silence means peace, that they're calm, centered, unbothered. But that's the lie you were trained to believe, because you thought love meant chasing. You thought absence meant mystery. You thought if they're quiet, it's because you did something wrong. But let's flip that. Let's tell the truth that no one else will. Silence is the most common language of guilt, and right now, they're fluent. Imagine this. A thief breaks into a house, steals everything of value, and leaves in the middle of the night. Do they come back to apologize? No. Do they return the stolen items? Not a chance. Do they visit the place they violated just to make peace? Never. Why? Because a thief doesn't revisit the home they robbed. They avoid it, because just seeing it reminds them of what they took and what they destroyed. That's exactly what's happening here. You weren't just another person. They took your love, your loyalty, your consistency, and now they can't even look you in the eyes. That's not indifference. That's shame. They saw your light, and instead of matching it, they tried to dim it. They saw your loyalty, and instead of rising to meet it, they took advantage of it. And now they can't handle the reflection you hold up to them. Because silence isn't strength. Silence is a shield. It's a way to hide from the version of you that reminds them of the version of themselves they're too ashamed to face. You want to know the real reason they ghosted, why they disappeared without closure, without explanation, without a shred of decency, because silence is easier than accountability, because staying in contact would have meant answering questions they never had the courage to face, like why they gave up, why they lied, why they made you feel like you were the one who wasn't enough when they were the one bringing nothing to the table. You were gold, And gold makes people feel small when all they know is plastic. Your presence was rare, and that rarity, it demands respect. But when someone's been living a lie, your truth feels like an attack. And they'd rather disappear than deal with the fact that they destroyed something beautiful because they didn't know how to handle it. So don't romanticize their silence. Don't call it grace. Don't call it peace. Call it what it is: fear wrapped in ego, guilt dressed up like detachment, cowardice hiding behind fake strength. Let me break it down even further. If they were really over you, they wouldn't be lurking. They wouldn't be watching your stories from burner accounts. They wouldn't be checking your page in the middle of the night. They wouldn't be asking mutual friends if you're okay, without ever checking if they were the reason you're not. That's not detachment. That's desperation, just disguised. But here's the twist. You keep interpreting their silence as a sign of power. You keep thinking, maybe they don't care anymore. Maybe I didn't mean that much. No, stop. That's not what's happening here. They care, just not in a way that's healthy or mature. They care because your absence is a mirror. And that mirror, it's reflecting everything they tried to bury. So now, it's your turn to stop carrying the shame. You've been dragging around guilt that doesn't even belong to you. You've been second-guessing your value based on someone else's inability to see it. But what if their silence wasn't rejection? What if it was confession? Confession that they ruined something they weren't ready for. Confession that they let go of someone they should have fought for. Confession that they'll never admit out loud. But carry in every quiet moment they're forced to be alone with their own decisions. So say this with me now. Say it like a damn roar. Their silence is proof. I was gold. Comment it below. Don't just think it. Own it. Show them. Show yourself. Show the world around you that you are done reading their silence as strength. Because you know what silence really sounds like. Regret. And what's coming next? That's the part where you rise so bright they can't scroll past your light without remembering exactly what they lost. Stay with me. It only gets louder from here. Number 6. You're not a puppet, so stop letting them pull the strings. If they can control your emotions, they own your identity. That line should sting, because for too long, that's exactly what you've allowed. You weren't in a relationship, you were in a performance. You played the role they cast for you, always reacting, always waiting, always bending yourself into shapes just to keep their attention. They didn't offer love, they offered a leash, and every time they pulled, you danced. You called it chemistry, you called it intensity. But let me be blunt, my friend, it was manipulation. It was emotional slavery dressed up as a soulmate story. They ghosted you, and you panicked. They breadcrumbed you, and you clung to every crumb like it was a feast. They turned cold, and you turned warmer. They said nothing, and you wrote essays in your head, trying to decode the silence. That's not love. That's not a connection. That's control. And if we're going to tell the truth here, then we have to admit it. They trained you like a puppet. Every little move, every little word, every little seen message became a command. They didn't have to say much. All they had to do was go quiet. And suddenly you were unraveling. Suddenly you were questioning your worth. Suddenly you were adjusting your behavior just to pull them back in. My friend, that's not romantic tension. That's psychological conditioning. And they did it on purpose. Imagine this. You're standing in front of someone. They say, jump, and you don't just jump. You rehearse the landing, plan your smile, fix your posture, and ask them afterward, was that good enough? And all they do, fold their arms, stay silent, maybe offer a little smirk, and you crumble. That's the dynamic they created. You perform, they observe, you chase, they retreat. You cry, they scroll. And let's call it what it is, abuse of emotional power. They knew your heart. they saw your softness, they clocked your compassion, and instead of honoring it, they exploited it, because they knew you'd always come back. They knew silence would trigger your anxiety. They knew inconsistency would keep you hopeful, so they used it, over and over, until you forgot where you ended and they began. Let me scold you, and I mean this with love. How dare you keep dancing for someone who keeps changing the music? How dare you let someone else decide when you're allowed to feel joy, peace, or connection? They don't even have to be in the room, and they still control your mood. That's not power, that's possession. You gave them strings, and they played you like an instrument, and you called that love? You need to hear this. They never loved you in the way you think. They loved your response. They loved knowing they could disappear and still be the center of your mind. They loved watching you shatter and blame yourself for the cracks they created. That's not a partner, that's a puppeteer, and the longer you stay tied to them, the further you drift from your own identity. But here's the good news. It ends the moment you decide it does. The strings aren't glued to your soul. They're tied with knots of fear, guilt, hope, and illusion. And every day you stay silent, stay strong, stay away, you're untying them. Slowly, powerfully. With every second you stop checking your phone, with every hour you stop reacting, with every day you refuse to perform, the strings weaken. Because guess what? You are not a puppet. You are not here to be controlled. You are not here to jump through emotional hoops just to feel chosen by someone who wouldn't even bleed a drop for you. You are not desperate. You were just conditioned. And now you're waking up. So say it with me, loud and clear. I cut the strings. I control me. Type it in the comments. Stamp it into your spirit. Show them. Show yourself. Show the world around you that from this moment on, nobody gets to pull your emotions like a lever. You are not a show. You are not a side character in their ego drama. You are the main story now. And what's coming next? That's when the puppeteer realizes the show can't go on without the star. Stay with me. We're just starting to rise. Number 7. You keep waiting for closure, but you already have it. Closure isn't something they give. It's something you claim when you stop checking your phone. Stop waiting. Stop staring at the screen like it's a magic portal to healing. They're not coming back with answers. They barely showed up with effort. You're stuck rereading the same chapter, hoping somehow the words will change. But the truth? The story ended when you stopped being seen. And now, the only thing left to do is put the book down and walk into your next chapter without needing their permission. They don't get to decide when you move on. They don't get to hold the key to your peace. The apology you want, it's hidden in your own reflection. It's the moment you look yourself in the eye and say, enough. That's when you're free. Say it with your chest right now. I closed the door they kept leaving open. Type it in the comments. Show them. Show yourself. Show the world that you're not waiting anymore. You're walking. And what comes next? That's your new story. One they'll never be written into again. Stay with me, because next we confront the moment they realize they regret everything. Number 8. Shine so bright, it burns them. You don't move on quietly. You rise so loud, it echoes in their regret. This is your turning point. You're not the same person who begged, waited, broke, and bled for someone who only gave you confusion. That version of you, gone, dead and buried. What's standing here now is someone unshakable, someone forged in the fire they left you to burn in. You are no longer the candle. You are the flame, and they're the moth, drawn to your glow, blinded by your rise, haunted by your silence. They will remember you, not because you chased, but because you changed. Not because you cried, but because you became. And now, your existence is the reminder. Your power is the punishment. Your glow is the ghost that follows them everywhere they go. You didn't just move on, you leveled up, and they'll never reach you again. So here's the truth. Maybe it hurt, maybe it broke you, but it also woke you up. And that version of you, the one who no longer begs, who no longer waits, who no longer shrinks, that's who you were always meant to be. You don't need closure. You don't need their call. You needed this reminder. So if this message lit something in you, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this with someone who's forgetting their worth. And comment below. I rise, untouchable and free. Let them see it. Let yourself feel it. This is your comeback.